Shalomi homies, welcome back to Block Mage. I am your host Celine. Welcome to season 3. I am in my 30s era. I'm finally starting my world mission and I'm really excited because I get to finally share a lot of the teachings that I've gone through all throughout my years in my ascension process. And it has taken me quite a long time to be able to not be afraid to be perceived and actually to share a lot of these codes. I want to talk a lot about genetics. I want to talk about fertility, creation, what is changing in our world. I'm going to give you a spiritual perspective, the macro, so that the micro will start to make sense. Where do we even begin? Today I woke up and my heart was just feeling this different type of love. And it's a lot like creation, creativity, so much fertility kind of love. And my guides, they were showing me the waterfall in Hawaii and all these places with waterfalls and springs and aquifers. And it signifies and mirrors the woman's body. When there is enough safe containment from the masculine, the body just naturally overflows. It is pure creation. It is just pure love. It truly mimics the planet. So a woman's womb is like a vacuum. So many creations is possible because it's just the dark matter. You know, you go in there, you spark a light. The masculine holds the Zion spark. And through that, galaxies are births. Through that, creation, manifestation is birth. So every time we make love, we birth new springs, new waterfalls, new minerals that also supports the planet. And it is truly what it means to live in harmony. It is truly what it means to live in co-creation with not just the cosmos, but the planet at large. Like, I feel so at home in my body now compared to when I first started, and just feeling this deep love and reverence and just imagining the vastness, the unfathomable, unconditional love that the planet has given me, my source, and all of the beloved guidance that they have shared with me. It's kind of like standing in front of a waterfall. Like, that is how we should be feeling all the time. Like when you just step out of the spa, how relaxed you are. It is just majestic. And then the masculine, men have such incredible codes too, because their energy, their frequency is a lot like the volcano. And every time the volcanoes erupt, it creates more fertilizer for the land. It replenishes and creates new lands. So the planet is always transforming. Before, when the volcanoes were a lot more active, they would blast out a lot of this ash and lava, and it is so loaded with minerals because it's coming from her core. A lot of the potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, these are the exact nutrients that the plants crave. The ash settles onto the ground, it breaks down over time and mixes into the soil. Kind of like how it's like this slow release of plant food. Plus, it's super fine, so it holds the water well without getting too compact. And that's why a lot of places like Hawaii, New Zealand, Iceland, they grow such good crops, even though they're basically rocks. You know, it's like the earth saying that, I'm sorry, I'm causing all this chaos, but here, take some vitamins. My sister went to New Zealand and their trees, they just grow like within 6 months instead of years because the soil is just so potent and it can create so much food, it creates so much life, new organisms, all kinds of stuff. This morning, I was looking at my genetic records, and I want to tell you about my ancestry. So, my ancestry comes from the indigenous Filipinos, and they're called the Atas or Batak Mamanwa people. They descended from one of the earliest dispersals of modern humans out of Africa. So, there are these originals, they are the original root races. So, my lineage kind of spread migration from Southeast Asia. They were the seafarers. They were related to the indigenous people of Taiwan and all over Southeast Asia. So today, our genetic signature, we call it the Austronesian. So it's called the Southern Island. And it's very common across the islands of the Pacific, from the Philippine Sea to Hawaii, Austronesia, Melanesians, and they migrated to Madagascar, Rapa Nui, Hawaii. Talk about Moana. That's literally me growing up. This one's really interesting because the Austronesians mix with people they met along the way. So these were the Filipinos, the Papuans from Papua New Guinea, Southeast Asian mainlanders. So a lot of the Polynesian cultures later emerged from these Austronesian societies in Tonga, Samoa, and it started to spread to within these equatorial islands of the Central Pacific, including the French Polynesia. And this was about 1,000 years ago. Soon after, the Polynesians, they quickly settled within these far-flung islands of Hawaii, New Zealand, Rapa Nui, the Easter Island, and then this is what caused a lot of the rapid settlement that explains a lot of the remarkable similarities between these cultures and languages of the remote Pacific when it was still kind of one big island. This was still like during the Pangea, long before the European age of exploration. The Polynesian voyagers were crossing thousands of miles of uncharted water, and they would settle from one inhabited island into another. Almost all of the knowledge of traditional Polynesian navigation is lost to time, and they didn't really have compasses or, the navigation that we have now. They just really listened to the wind, the sun, the electromagnetic field of the planet, and their spidey senses were just very good. And that's what actually spiders are. Spiders are kind of in the sixth dimensional. They're like 6D beings. So when they create their web, it actually follows through the patterns of the planet. So they're here to almost like they are the navigators of the insects. So when they create their webs, it signals to them like any shifts within the planet. It's really cool. I'm going to dive more into insects someday. But yeah, back to the Polynesians. They had this skill which is called the wave piloting, which involves a lot of the sensing and the reflections or the refractions of the ocean swells off of these distant islands. So if you've seen Moana, they would just look at the water and know where they need to go. So they would follow birds and turtles. They would spot a lot of these island-hugging bioluminescence and just rely on memorizing the stars, the maps, as their guide of where they need to go next. So only a handful of Pacific Islanders carry this traditional knowledge or the wave piloting. It's a lot like how dolphins, a lot of these fishes, whales, they navigate through the waters through this electromagnetic field, even birds. It's one of the reasons why Tesla was so obsessed with these pigeons, because the pigeons actually have like some metallic composition in their beaks that allows them to navigate where they need to go. That's why they just know when it's time to go south or where they need to be, because they follow where the rhythm is of the planet. There was this experiment around 2006. They conducted this experiment where the researchers accompanied this one Marshallese wave pilot on a journey between islands, and he was only relying on his ability to read the ocean swells. And they were trying to test the wave pilot skill, where the researchers had set up this ship miles off course while the navigator slept. And soon after he woke up, the wave pilot, he was able to bring the ship back on course, just relying on wave piloting by looking at the waves, the currents, the seas, all that stuff, and having correctly interpret a lot of the patterns of the waves reflecting off what is the nearby island. On my mother's side, one of the areas they showed me was the Pearl River Delta. And this is hilarious because rice is literally in my DNA. Like, rice is life. I freaking love rice. And this goes all the way back to the Han Dynasty. They were among the very first people who started the agriculture of rice. So within this Pearl River system, this is found in the coast where the world's earliest rice domestication happened. So the Pearl River system now links millions of people in southern China from Nanning to Guangzhou and Hong Kong, and then spanning that whole Pearl River watershed to the South China Sea coast, the region that carries a lot of these unique genetic signature despite the southward expansion of the Han Dynasty about 2,000 years ago. And whenever my ancestors, they open a field for me, it just is truly humbling. And I have so much love for them, and it's overwhelming how much they've sacrificed for us to be here now, for all of the hardships that they've been through and what they had to do in order for us to be here. And so when you open your codex, it's really something. It is the library of you, it is the history of your family, your whole lineage. So to verify your authentic genealogical proof, this is called the heraldic proofing, which this involves working with a lot of the genealogists, examining a lot of the historical records, your family names and ancestries. This method really traces lineages through several documented heraldry rather than relying a lot of these standard blood genetic tests. I mean, it shows you something, but when you really want to go on a deep dive of your heraldry, it shows you a lot more. So I've been working with some of my relatives back in the Philippines, my aunts, and really just tracing where we come from. If you've seen other families who have these coat of arms, this functions a lot like a family mark or a stamp. It's actually like a seal within your genetics. A valid coat of arms are your personal property, requiring a lot of proof of your direct inheritance, often requiring some parish records, maybe wills or land deeds. Your DNA is the biological equivalent of a cryptographic wallet address. So if you think of crypto, for example, I have an admin key. So a lot of my clients that come into me and they want to open their codex, they want to open their genetic library, they come to me and then we explore it together. And it's incredible what kind of gifting we uncover, what kind of history their family has, and really dive into the family constellations. There's so much stipulation when it comes to these soul contracts. There's a lot of vows, there's a lot of so many things that go on. It's almost like a registry. So if you carry some of this genetics, you serve a unique identity key that proves your origin and ownership. This is where the true wealth lies. You know, it's not just with the land, but wealth are really the traits and codex that is handed down to you that you can pass on to your future kids. The amount of work that it takes to purify your blood is very extensive because there's a lot of hybridization that's happened and there's a lot of mixing of genetics. But when that diamond strand really starts to light up, like you are so golden, that is why you have to be very picky of the person that you marry or reproduce, because it really muddles and dilutes, especially if you have the original coding or if you have the original root race. So my ancestors will literally kick out a partner in my life or expire the timeline if they are not incompatible or in disharmony with my genetics. Your genetics actually sing. There's like a resonant sound to it. So for example, birds, right? The way that birds find their mate is they sing. In many songbirds, the song that they tweet tweet helps them find and assess their mates. When a bird sings, they can signal species, identity, location, condition, and sometimes the quality of their mate. So the females in a number of species do use their song to distinguish their potential partners. So, whenever you get into these ages, when you're in your 22, 33, 44, 55, this is when your genetics start to really bloom. So, I just turned 33, and your genetics start singing, or it starts blossoming in a way for those partners to be attracted to you. And with birds, they don't generally find a pair through sound alone, but depending on their species, the pairing can also depend on the plumage or how they dance, how they display themselves, the timing, territory. There's a lot of things, but most of the time, birds use sound as one of their main pathways into pairing, especially songbirds, because the pairing is usually built through this whole courtship system and not just a single note. It's really interesting how these birds mate and how we should be mating as humans. A lot of times, the architecture of a relationship collapses because there is no shared capacity for repair, no mutual regulation or compatible rhythm and closeness and distance, no way to metabolize difference without turning it into fighting or threat, and both really have to show up. One of the best things that I've heard about relationships, right? Like relationships fracture not because of a one given point. There are already several fractures along the way. So if you look at the French Revolution did not just happen in one day. It happened because there was a series of different fractures that primed them for that eruption to happen. So, kind of like that in relationships, also. So, it's really good to keep repairing and keep replenishing, keep cleaning up your patterns and the architecture of your not only yourself with your partner, but also with your family. And that's what I do a lot with my clients, with my own family, also. And when you open up a lot of these karmic wounds, a lot of the things that goes on with the family, it's all interconnected. So it's like it forms a constellation. And so for 5 years now, I've been purifying my blood, my light body. I've just been abstaining from sex, no alcohol, eating clean. Within the past few years, I haven't colored my hair or cut it. And this is also called the Nazarite Vow, where you separate yourself by abstaining. Within these past few years, I've been initiated in just all kinds of stuff, especially with Tantra, and bringing back this sacredness with not only love, but through sex and creation. So there's a lot of um, holding reverence to what sex is, what power dynamics really is, and really giving myself full service to Source, Christos Sophia. This is complete sobriety and clarity of the mind that symbolizes deep discipline and devotion. I've really been in my ashram of my own making. You study every day, just full on monk mode. You get tested, you get initiated, you go through a lot of your dragon trials. I'll have to do another episode on my whole dragon trials. Like, you will be shown a lot of the circumstances. You will be shown, okay, this is what's next. This is a challenge for you. You either overcome this or you succumb. So, yeah, it's really interesting how they set it up, especially if you have roles that are ushering this next collective evolution. Me growing my hair symbolizes the visible covenant with God, and I was reclaiming a lot of my sovereignty, my fertility, all of my life force, my full genetic inheritance. And at the end of the vow, you can choose to cut your hair as a part of this temple ritual. I would get trims here and there, but I don't know when I'll get a proper haircut. It's all preparing me for my hairoscomic union. There's actually a lot of sacredness in our hair, and it's something that they really put such emphasis. So I often braid my hair, and it's almost like a prayer or like you communing with the divine every time you braid your hair or just take care of your hair. So I'm gonna dive into beauty stuff someday also. They told me to have my mom cut my hair or my sister, somebody within the family. But Yeah, it's kind of like that Avatar movie, right? Like your hair is an extension of your neurons. So all of the hair that is in your body, it is like neurons and synapses. It is a connection to your whole being. After I completed my Heiros Gamos, I became sovereign within myself. And then once you complete that within yourself, a new pair comes into your life. Everything is mirroring through you. And usually it's always the same template they give me with my partner. It's like the same kind of man that's very Capricorn, very self-motivated. It is very exact and complementary to my blueprint. So I know if a person comes into my life, like if they're going to be another test or it is another round of clearing. It took a while to really stabilize, but you get a series of partners or men, women who are like the final one to transmute and help you mirror back the patterns to move it up and out. My heart has truly been broken, yoked over and over to really clear out a lot of the abandonment wounds, the abuse patterns, codependency, and you get to a point where you're just very neutral. To be in love, it's actually very neutral and it feels very clean. There is no enmeshment. And you're just standing in the most majestic waterfall. Like that is the kind of love, the kind of dam of the water that is flowing through you. This is the sacred rivers. It is very much like nature and creation. So, all of this spiritual things that I'm into, was this something that I wanted to do? No, not necessarily. I was thrown into it. My whole identity was wiped out because my ancestry had other plans for me. And this was kind of the necessary outcome of my spiritual practice. I was really getting kicked so far into the void, into a very fast moving river. It was either me going to sink or I would have to swim. So I chose to swim. I thought I was going one way in my life, service to self. Celine the nurse, Celine the researcher, Celine the financial analyst, the CEO. Nope, that got kicked out of my curb. And the ascension process is really a let go game, especially with the kind of grid work that I'm doing. My higher self, my ancestors, hands me everything that needs to happen. They show me the timelines and possibilities, but there are a lot of nuances still that can change anytime. And you have to really trust, have deep, full trust with all of your conviction, and to really have immense courageousness that you will find a clearing even when you're in the thick of the unknown. So, how do you even know if your guides, your higher self, are truly there helping you navigate? To me, it feels like a very deep cellular knowing. And you will start to see the feedback in your surroundings. Like the simulation gives you clues. So, the more that you build that muscle, right? Just like going to the gym, you have a routine and then you start to notice like any differences, variations, and you can follow if this path is true or not. So you really have to build this muscle of discernment, and it really is rooted from your self trust. But how do you cultivate self trust? You have to do esteemable acts. You make promises to yourself and you follow through those promises so that when you really start building this muscle, you can trust your inner knowing that I have gone through several hardships, that I can accomplish or do whatever it takes. It just doesn't happen in one day, like, oh, okay, I'll trust myself now. If that trust has been broken over and over, yeah, it will be very hard to find discernment. So you have to revert that code, right? And so this is really where a lot of the virtues come in, like honesty, truthfulness. These are your anchors, these are your railways. Think of it like, the handle in the ladder. When you have these virtues, you write down who you want to be: intellect, wisdom, those type of stuff, write it down and then really follow through that, being virtuous and being righteous. Like, it won't lead you astray. I have seen so many miracles and feedback from my surroundings that I don't even doubt it. They give me very obvious clues and the next steps to take. That takes me to my highest timeline. Sometimes when they tell you to rest, you rest. you know, sometimes they make you do things that are completely out of this world, completely does not make any sense, but it will make sense later on. And so if you are fighting against this urge, you're fighting against this intuition, you're only delaying yourself because it might not make sense right now, but in the future, it will make sense. So going back into my Nazarite vow, this was me setting apart from ordinary life and really having the discipline of the body and the mind and the full spiritual focus, the visible devotion. This devotion is a way for ordinary people, not just priests, to enter into these period of intense spiritual dedication. Going back within our DNA, your inheritance creates this immutable lineage of genes. Both are very essential chains of transmission through time. Your biology is basically a living information ledger. So your DNA connects to other timelines, not just within this earthly plane, but also cosmically and galactically. That's why DNA is literally everything. And when you do this heraldry, this formal system for identifying individuals and lineages through a lot of the inherited symbols or a shield historically granted for this specific person, or it's been passed down to descendants according to the rules of this heraldic tradition. So when you see a lot of these like royalties who have coat of arms, or certain families have a lot of coat of arms, it's not just for everyone with that last name. It usually belongs to a particular armiger, meaning the original bearer, to the descendants entitled to inherit it. This really opened my eyes why certain bloodlines, certain families, they go through this very rigorous selection of who their sons or daughters marry, because not only it affects their current dynasty or their current circulation of wealth, it affects further generation down the line. And it also affects generations before then. And I see now why our DNA is super sacred. So now let's talk about these angelic DNAs and the illuminated bloodlines. Now we're going to get even more spiritual. A lot of the DNA tests, those 23andMe's, they often fail to detect non-human or angelic genes because a lot of this genetic corruption is hidden or undetectable by standard testing methods. You can also encrypt your genetics so no one can look into your codex. So these illuminated bloodlines, they not only carry through the physical blood heme, but also through soul lineages. This is done quantumly. So a lot of times what I do with my clients' family, these constellations and resonance architecture, they are the building blocks of a coherent relationship within your family or your network. There is this one specific family that I was working with, and they owned a lot of yachts. They had yacht clubs and they had farmlands also, but the mom and dad, they were getting older, and then the sons were getting married, all kinds of stuff. They were having a lot of these problems within their family business. So they came to me and we untangled a lot of these karmic woundings, patterns, and really finding more compassion and forgiveness within the family, because again, these land titles, if you are the keeper of the land, it gets passed on to the next generation. There's so many like stipulation energetically to find like that coherence. If you are truly building a legacy, You have to incorporate a lot of these energetic things. So a lot of the wealthy people, they truly believe in astrology. They truly believe in these family karma. They would go to a specific place to unhash everything. That is one of their secret tactics that most people should utilize. Not just your feng shui in your house, but is this partner good for you? If you're going into business partnerships or contracts, there's so many strings attached. So a lot of times they come to me and we clear up any karmic debts, we clear up whatever energetic stuff, and then they can build. Once you build energetically first, it actually is a lot easier to build in the 3D. So many people carry such genes without it showing up in typical DNA tests, or they don't know that they have these angelic bloodlines. I've had clients whose family left them codexes and they're just like super geniuses. They come pre built with systems thinking, they come pre built with incredible talent. And that gets passed on and you can activate those. You can unlock those gifts. So many things you can do. These are your inheritance from your past family members, from your ancestry. It's all in there, but it takes some unlocking. Now, going back to relationships, these Aeonic pairs, Aeonic means almost like you come in with one soul and the soul split into two souls, a man and a woman. This is the lock and key. The perfect partner, you have quite a few sets of partners, but there is also one master key partner. He or she will unlock your spine and will unlock your body in ways that blows your mind. And trust me, it is very visceral. You know when your organs, your body starts to unlock because you feel it so much. Like your whole womb, your solar plexus, your mind, it's just constant level up, level up. And then you skyrocket and your codex, your book of life, it all opens up and it lights you up and you get a full readout of your genetics across time. It's really, really incredible. So they give you access to your genetic library. So the woman typically is the one that unlocks the genetic codex. So I've had 3 partners that have unlocked not only my genetics, but I've unlocked theirs also. And just really incredible traits like bravery, systems thinking, authority codes, many, many things. I've had one of my partner, his genetic library opened up and I saw how the men in his family, they were working with the ores of the land and there were like these very skilled miners. His spine and rod was so strong, like he had that really strong conviction. Like his whole backside was like a metal, like just full on iron. So he's really good at problem solving, challenges, all kinds of stuff. I'm really amazed by men's spine. Really cool. But yeah, just one of the examples. If you're a woman, there is a specific DNA called the mitochondrial DNA or mtDNA. This is what gets passed on from the mother to all of the children's, but only daughters can pass it on further. That's why, women are the whole tabernacle. We are the altar, not the offering, okay? Because we carry all of the genetic lineages across time. So the mother gives birth to the sons and daughters, and then daughters pass it on to the next generation. The sons receive it, but they cannot pass it on forward. This means that the mitochondrial DNA, this is what traces the unbroken maternal line that is going back thousands of years. So the father determines the sex of the child because he provides either the X or Y. But a lot of the geneticists, they've discovered that all living humans share a distant maternal ancestor, and this is called the mitochondrial Eve. It means that she is the most recent woman from whom all of these current human maternal lines have descended. My genetics goes all the way back from Mua or Lemuria, and I couldn't just marry anyone because marriage is a contract and you are bound by that person. And there's so many stipulations that goes with it. I had to be sovereign to keep these sacred blueprints. Now we talk about the angelic DNA and the Nephilim DNA. The angelic genes originated from these fallen angelics, which they interbred with human women, and they were producing offspring such as the Nephilim. These offsprings carried a mixture of the human and angelic genetic material. So, if you're familiar with the story of Hercules, he was half human and half a god. A lot of the Nephilims, they are half reptilian and half Seraphim. Within the angelic hierarchy, right, there's the Elohim, there's the Orphim, there's the Seraphim, and then there's like the archangels. There's like levels of it. So the Elohims, they're like the commander in chief, they are kind of the god level. So, for example, Raphael, these are like phonetics that gets broken down, right? The way their language was before is all phonetics. So Ra means the sun, Fa, who is like, and then El, God. So the one who is like God. That's what Raphael means. And then Mikael is the same way. The one who is next to God. It's all resonance. It's all different architectures. So these Nephilims were half reptilian and half Seraphim. Right now, everybody thinks that the reptilian race is all one bad race. That's not necessarily true. It's kind of like saying, oh, all Americans are bad, all Americans are obese. Like, no. Their role when they came in here, the reptilians, when they were seeding Earth, it was to bring in wisdom. And so the Anunnakis, they were like the contractors, and the angelic beings, they were the architects. So the reptilian race, this is where a lot of the dragon consciousness came from. They came from the constellation of Draco. And these are like neighboring constellations like Orion, Lyra. This was where a lot of the dragon consciousness came from, where they got super distorted. It doesn't mean like all reptilians are bad. It just kind of happens because the people who was governing their constellations were corrupt, and it caused their civilization to fall. They were running out of food. So again, their collective mission was to bring wisdom and intelligence. It's why you see a lot of these Egyptian gods, goddesses like Cleopatra, they have this snake in their forehead because it represents wisdom. And then the Anunnakis came for the second seeding of humanity. They were the master builder races. They were like these giants. And think of them again like the contractors of gods. Like, hey, you guys are going to build these pyramids, you guys are going to build the temples, and you're going to help humanity to evolve all these stuff. But they diverted from the plan. What went wrong was that a lot of these Nephilim creations were kidnapped, raped. They had a lot of forced interbreeding with the human woven into the earth. This was not agreed upon to genetically tamper with the human race, and the Elohim, which is kind of the chief architect, would not let this race walk on or be on earth. So this created a lot of conflict, and another war broke out. There's been several wars within history. Dracos or Draconian are from the Draco constellations. The Nephilim Wars ended the seeding, and then we reorganized for the next evolutionary round, where the next war was called the Luciferian Rebellion, which occurred in the Atlantean timelines. When we say Luciferian, right, these are a group of different beings. It's not just one being, these are a fraction of different types of alien groups. So many of the Nephilims were destroyed on Earth, and their consciousness was fragmented because it got super enmeshed with a lot of these lower demonic spirits. They had these very dense level of Earth matter. Many of the Nephilims were destroyed on Earth and their fragmented consciousness because they were so enmeshed with the lower demonic spirits of the dense levels of Earth matter. And some of these entities were bound to the earth because they're also called the Watchers. And it was so compromised, both Nephilim and fallen angelic fragments. So that's where a lot of these illuminated bloodlines come from. So if you look at these kingships, royal families like the one in England and many other several royal families, what it means being a royal or royal bloodline, it just means that you came from source. You know, your original blood was made out of light. You have the Diamond Sun DNA. The Diamond Sun DNA is the Seraphim race line. So these are the Christos lineages. When we say Christ, this is a group of consciousness, a Christos lineage. Think of it like you getting your PhD or you getting your master's degree. You become an ascended master. These are the original humans created from the guardian founder race lines. So it was originally designed for an angelic human 12-strand DNA silicate matrix. And this DNA can evolve into 24 to 48 strands of DNA. This is where a lot of the Essene tribes comes from. So when I came here, my soul specifically chose the kind of family, the location of where I was born. Every single detail of my life was for a reason. And one of my missions was that my soul contract was an Indigo 3. And Indigo 3s we're kind of like the soul SEALs team that we are here to really rehabilitate the most fucked up genetics. And so an Indigo 3 comes in, you're an Orphan and a Nephilim soul. My soul came back here not only to clean up the hybridization, the checkerboard mutation, but to rehabilitate these fallen fractions back to source. And I work alongside with the Interdimensional Free World Council, the Syrian High Council, so many councils, and you literally have to discern which ones are clean and false light. But, you know, they really guide your way and they're very loving. The Aurora councils, there are so many beings that overlook humanity. Earth is extremely important because our blood holds all of the genetics of these other races. You know, not just here on Earth, but every single being of the cosmos. We are the ultimate hard drive. Our blood is the ultimate hard drive. We are the master key that can unlock any and all nations in the cosmos. So don't think that you are powerless. Like, you are extremely powerful. Which is why one of the reasons they poison our food, they poison our water, all of that is to keep us dumbed down. My group, Gaia's Council, and we go into different timelines and heal a lot of these distortions. We clear a lot of the war timelines, everything to get Gaia healthy again. Gaia is not just a floating rock. She is very much alive. She has a body. The whole earth is her body. So we can activate her crystal core. Her crystal core is like her original nuclear reactor, right? That powers her up. This is what powers civilizations, because back when it was during the Atlantean cataclysm, the Atlanteans could not hold the resonance of an emerging consciousness. They used and abused these crystals and caused a lot of the flooding and ultimately the sinking of their nation. So in the same way, you know, we don't want to repeat their patterns. When we don't take care of the planet, the climates, the water rises, all kinds of stuff happens. When we pollute the planet, it's just the feedback. So we are trying to prevent that from happening with this generation. These Nephilims had corruption of their Y chromosome DNA that was inherited from the male angelic side. So these groups, the Belial Sun group, they originally came from the Syrian constellation and the Pleiadian constellation. They were the Wanderers. So they have 9, 10, 11 DNA strands, and this created a planetary DNA mutation and wars over genetics. Again, this is like the third seeding of humanity, and we are now on the sixth seeding coming up. Their control hub is in the UK, and its agenda is to enslave humans. So these Belial sun groups, the Luciferian forces, are part of this fallen angelic hierarchy. And so the Paladorian Covenant, like us who are indigo or light workers, we are kind of the intermediaries. We are the diplomatic people who negotiate with them. Like, hey, do you want to be rehabilitated? Do you want to go back to source? Or do you want to stay here in your fallen matrix, in your phantom matrix, which will be obliterated? But, sometimes they're very, very stubborn. It's really sad how these angelic beings fell. I don't think they really wanted to disobey God, but we were super hijacked by these alien groups. We were captured, memory wiped out, and just the separation from source, like, it is brutal. Wings burned, wings cut off. It's really something. So, one of the abilities that the reptilians and Dracos have is mind control. And it's like they can hypnotize someone to do something. They alter the angelic genetics and cause these digressions. You see all the snakes, you see all the crocodiles, you all see iguanas. The Dracos reptilians were running out of food because they overused and depleted their resources. Humans actually evolved from hominids. We didn't come from apes, we came from hominids. So they started invading these other nations. It was a whole big mess. A lot of wars happened, and they wanted to take over the heavens and all of the cosmos. I'm telling you, this is Star Wars to the nth level. If you have watched Star Wars and how many episodes there are, like, that is kind of what we're doing. We had to go back here and blow up the Death Star, which is their beast machine. These angelics weren't just bad angels or choosing evil out of pure malice in a simple way. Many started as higher beings like Oriphims, angelics who have this Christic template, or other star-seeded lineages who got pulled into this cosmic conflict or genetic tampering and power struggles. It is a very messy history. So during the second seeding phase of humanity, there are these groups like the Anunnaki. They began forced breeding programs like kidnapping, raping, and forcibly hybridizing with human women to create this Nephilim race. This was not consensual. It was a genetic experimentation that really violated the natural laws and agreements. It was explicitly forbidden to tamper humanity's genetics. Again, why? Because humans' DNA carries all of history's DNA. We are the backup plan. So if you tamper the backup plan's genetics, it fucks up all of history. And think of the cosmos as a layered cake, right? So what we feel, all of these commotion down below, if we feel it like at a 5/10 level, they feel it like 12 out of 12 up there. So when there's chaos here, there's even more chaos upstairs. This sparked the massive wars that are called the Nephilim Wars. So this led to the destruction of so many of these hybrid beings on Earth, and their consciousness was fragmented. They're all hanging out in the underworld. So the broader picture ties into the Luciferian rebellion and angelic distortions, where the original perfected beings like the Seraphims are like the golden angels. They were polarized into these negative forms through the misuse of free will, metatronic reversals, distorted energy codes, and alliances with these negative alien agenda forces. They lost their original divine blueprint, their ability to self-generate, to ascend, and they got locked into cycles of these anti-life expressions and control agendas. The Human Genome Project was partially aimed at identifying the Nephilim gene markers in humans, the genetic material from one sexual partner can be permanently transferred to the female partner and passed on to the offspring, which could explain a lot of these ancient genetic divergences. It makes me sad because these beings who were once connected to source, light, higher harmony, devolved through wars, genetic distortions, and a lot of these entrapments, and they became tools or pawns in a larger enslavement grids, possessing a lot of humans or running reversal currents at the cost of their own internal nature. When I say reversal, right, the original God blueprint is about creation. Metatron is one of these architects. So instead of creation, you flip it, so you have destruction. It is the opposite. Instead of love, you have hate. Instead of life, you have death. That is what a reversal is. Instead of infinite abundance, you have debt. Those are reversal currents at work. So this is portrayed as one of the greatest cosmic tragedies of the fallen potential, from the original perfection that got really twisted into fragmentation, imprisonment in these lower densities, and this ongoing suffering in service to control hierarchies rather than freedom or ascension. And so when you have this understanding, everything starts to make sense. Like, why is our money set up this way? Why is our IRS set up this way? Why is there fluoride in my toothpaste? You know, that kind of stuff. My role now in my group, the Councils of Gaia, the Paladorian Covenant, is to find the fallen angelics and to rehabilitate them. We are here on a rescue mission. You know, the Paladorian Covenant is essentially this long-standing agreement of, it is a fail-proof plan that is orchestrated by the higher Christic guardian races for us to collect these blueprints, these templates, people who were once fallen, and to really rehabilitate you. So if you have one of these genetics, you know, you have an illuminated bloodline, it's not that you're doomed forever. Like, we can rehabilitate you, and that's what we do. You are not cursed forever. We are here not only to help the children, we are here to liberate your soul. Like, I am in the business of liberating people's souls. Our purpose here now is to recover and return a lot of these lost souls, the consciousness fragments, back to the God source. We rehabilitate the DNA, the timelines, the evolutionary paths from the distortion, from the wars, from genetic experiments, negative alien agendas, and specifically assisting the fallen races, the fallen angelic consciousness. So these are the Seraphims impacted by the Luciferian rebellion distortions, the hybrid groups, and to choose the righteous path, to choose rehabilitation over continued anti-life paths. We provide a recovery platform for education and service to others and the reclamation of this Christos mission. We clear a lot of the bindings, the blood covenants, the reversals, the AI signals that were so fragmented or trapped beings, so that they can evolve towards unity consciousness rather than remaining enslaved or destructive. A lot of us, you know, they piggyback on our patterns, they piggyback on our 7 deadly sins. You wonder why your life is so messed up. Yeah, because there's probably like a few entities in your body. So we get you cleaned up, you observe your patterns, and then that gets transmuted. That's what the confessions are about. You confess your sins, you confess your karma, you understand what your patternings are, and then that gets transmuted back into light. Your prana, your soul gets purified. We act as facilitators, defenders, and rehabilitators. And there's so much emphasis in the reclamation and healing instead of punishment to help the fallen. This is to remember their original divine blueprint and transmute a lot of the distortions, and they can finally ascend and integrate. This podcast is going to be a little bit longer. Now we talk about the Golden Eagle Grid. You can always come back to this if it's too much for you. But I want to help you understand all of the macros so that you understand what is happening on Earth and what will happen. So, the Golden Eagle grid, I have been on this grid forever and ever. There are several grids, and think of the grids as different chessboards. Okay. I know these histories are very long and deep, and it's important to understand the macro first. All right, I'm going to give you an example. Think of Harry Potter for a second. The ruby Grail lines are like the Gryffindor. Think King Arthur, the Knights of Round Table. They are the bold warrior archetypes. They're called the Ruby Sun DNA, Ruby Order, Ruby Grail lines, and King Arthur is their poster child. He embodied a 10-strand Ruby Sun template to restore the Red King, Ruby Rod, and Cosmic Father's Ruby Templar. These are different grails. So they are the fiery, courageous, grail questing warriors who came in to fight distortion and reclaim the bloodlines. They are pure Gryffindor energy, brave, loyal to the mission, sword in hand restorers. There is so much emphasis on Yeshua. His real name is Yahuwah. And we forget about the other Grey lines. Like, you can pray to King Arthur if you want to. It's the same. They're all from the Christos lineage. And it's really to bring back the balance of the feminine and the masculine, Christos Sophia. But Sophia has been erased forever and ever. Next is the Hufflepuff. These are the Seraphim Angelic. Think Golden Eagle grid, the original divine uncorrupted wealth. The Golden Eagle grid is the home of the Golden Ray Seraphim. So this is the family of Michael guardianship. So Michael, Mikael, the one who is next to God, he wasn't just an archangel. He was one of the chief angelics, right? And it was originally uncorrupted horizontal stabilizer. It had abundance, protection, loyalty, steady guardianship of the earth's heart. So before the reversal, it held a lot of this pure wealth of the planetary life force. It was very regenerative, that the waters can heal. The plants, it was just unlimited. Fruits everywhere, very Edenic codes. Not money, literal divine abundance, not money, the paper fiat that we have now, but the literal divine abundance and harmonic flow. So the House of Hufflepuff, they're very loyal, hardworking, fair. It's all about family vibes, friendship, good vibes. It is exactly how the original Seraphim Golden Eagle lineage operated before the Luciferian hijack turned it into this reversal machine that turned into capitalism. My work alongside my monad, which is a group of souls, are clearing not only the Golden Eagle grid, but there's so many other grids, like the Phoenix grid. There is the Ox grid, which is like the India. There is the Lion grids. These form kind of the whole chessboard of Gaia. Different energetic ley lines, which is, think of it like her fascia or nervous system, her body, the matrix, the mother. And then there is the blue flame, which is the raven claw. This is about intelligence, higher mind, geniuses like Einstein, Tesla, the polymaths. The blue flame Melchizedek's, they were the orphan blue rays, which are the archivists and the keepers of the entire genetic library, the time records, Gnostic wisdom. They hold the divine mind blueprint, the higher mind activation, and the all-seeing schematics of creation. They are the strategic intellectuals that they were cataloging a lot of the knowledge across dimensions. So when we activate the DNA, we start to remember. A lot of the philosophers came from this blue flame. And then there is the purple and amethyst. This is Ezekiel, Cosmic Father, Order, Architecture of Creation. They are the game masters. If you read the Gospel of Ezekiel, he did a lot, actually. He did way more than what is written. And one day I'm going to write a book about him because he is very, very interesting. His entire embodiment is tied to the Amethyst order. Okay, the purple amethyst, they have these throne rooms, and the throne rooms have all of these creation blueprints. So just like when you're building a house, you have these drawings. They have these throne rooms where they have all of the schematics of just creation. He was one of the father of dragons. So again, dragons, when I say dragon, it is a consciousness. So his Kentarian amethyst body was embedded into the earth grids during the electric wars. And he was the architect of structure. He was this keeper of order, the one who oversees the game board of creation timelines. And he really sacrificed himself so that the Pegasus constellation and the throne rooms, these schematics, blueprints don't get hijacked. Whenever I tap into the Pegasus constellation, like he's like the hero there. And it honestly saved the cosmos from falling, to continue to fall. Earth from digressing, from going into a black hole. And then the Emerald Order, I think of them like Slytherin, not like exactly the snakes, but like the Emerald Order is the highest, most ancient, pure blood guardian lineage. It's related to the Blue Flame also, but they are very strategic masterminds who oversee everything. So the ruby, gold, blue, amethyst, all of it, they are the ones who play the long, cunning, calculated game of reclamation. Very ambitious in the highest sense, like full planetary liberation, resourceful, pure in intention, and operating from the shadows of the highest dimension to outmaneuver these negative alien groups. It's just very elite, strategic. We see 10 moves ahead type of energy. So, how does this tie into my work? My Paladorian Covenant role and the Golden Eagle grid, a lot of the clearing is literally to reclaim the Seraphim line, the Golden Angelics. Again, this is like the Hufflepuff house restoration work in service to the whole school. Gaia's body is like our Hogwarts, okay? And we are cleaning up our school. So we are rehabilitating this original Seraphim Golden Eagle, which is the uncorrupted wealth and loyalty, so that the fallen warriors, which are the Ruby, the Gryffindors, the trapped intellectuals, the Blue Flame or the Ravenclaws, the distorted architects, Amethyst, Ezekiel, and a lot of the Emerald lines can come back online without the reversals. So every time we clear in the Golden Eagle, we are freeing fragments that belong to all of the houses, especially the fallen seraphims who got bound there during the Nephilim Wars and Luciferian Rebellion. So if you could see, America's symbolism is all about this like double-headed eagle. We're not even supposed to have borders. One day, the eagle of the north and the condor of the south will merge again. Gaia is one big body. So when there are so many restrictions, we border each other up. There's dams, we change her architecture. Her organic flow of energy also gets really messed up. And just like in the human's body, right? You put in stents, you put in ablations, you put in all kinds of surgeries done to your body. Like your body is like one Jenga tower. So if you pull a block and another block, like that whole tower will fall. If we continue with cutting down trees, polluting the oceans, overfishing, all of that stuff compiles. The planetary body is structured like a massive multidimensional chessboard. One affects the other. It's not just this random poetic language. It is very precise description of how the planetary grid networks, these stargates, ley lines, timelines, and consciousness fields function as a very strategic playing field in the ongoing cosmic conflict. So if we want to educate people, please share this podcast so that we can clear a lot of the distortions out there. Because there's a lot of spiritual people that don't even know the real history. They're just like repeating things. So anyway, this is just my testimony. There are several truths. Mine is not the only truth. So really use your discernment. But I hope this lands and I hope this resonates with you. Earth is not just a passive rock. It is an active game board where multiple factions maneuver for control over genetic lines. These are your diamond sun templates, the 12 tribes that the Bible talks about, the Palladorian activations, the energy harvesting, loosh via reversal, such as the checkerboard mutations, timeline dominance, sovereignty of souls, either reclamation or more enslavement. So I'm here to help you liberate yourself. The NAA, these negative alien agenda forces, have been cheating the game for a while. The Black Sun entities and various intruder groups treat it as their rigged board game, using inversions, AI signals, blood covenants, mind control broadcasts, grid takeovers, black magic, golden eagle reversals, Yahweh matrix, all kinds of stuff. Like, you gotta fight magic with magic, you know? But a lot of what we see in the news and all of that is just a feedback loop. It is just the outcome of entropy. It is the byproduct of what happens upstairs, of the energetic level. So, yeah, it is to keep these pieces locked in place, fragmented, or playing against their own interests. They need the game to persist because it sustains their power, and humans are their source of food. That's why you age. That's why you die. That's why you feel unhealthy and you have to keep working and paying taxes. Endless loosh from suffering, genetic experimentation, and prevention of mass awakening or ascension. But there is hope, okay? But why do we need the game if everything is just a simulation? It's not that the Christos mission or Palladorian covenant wants conflict. It's that free will, evolution, and true sovereignty requires a field of choice and contrast to exist meaningfully. This is how souls evolve through polarity and free will. The universe kind of operates on polarity. So you have light and dark. This is your positive and negative, service to others versus service to self. Without a contested field, souls can't exercise genuine choice. So this game, that's why the angelic beings created a game or a chessboard to be like this pressure cooker for growth. For your diamond sun light body, for your diamond sun DNA to get catalyzed. Because diamonds are born through pressure. This forces beings to confront their shadows, heal fragmentation, and to choose alignment with source. It is the mechanism for reclamation. So a lot of the fallen angelics, the trapped seraphims, the hybrid lineages, etc., they all get the opportunity to remember, be able to rehabilitate, and return rather than staying eternally lost or in limbo. So there's the heaven, there's the middle, which is the earth, and then there's the underworld. Another one is, this is to test and activate, again, our diamond sun templates. My role in this is helping clear the reversal pieces so that the original archetypes, such as the Ruby Warriors, the Gryffindors, the Ravenclaws, and The Amethyst architects, the Emerald strategists, they can fully embody. The board's challenges activates dormant codes. This forces Gridwork and to trigger the Paladorian seals and unseals. Without opposition, no activation, no ascension cycle completion. The samsara will always keep moving. The wheel will keep moving. And now we're creating a better game. Next is for cosmic justice and karmic resolution. The Paladorian Covenant is a fail-safe reclamation plan, and this isn't like a one-time instant swipe. It still has to honor these cosmic laws, the natural laws of creation. So entities, even the fallen ones, must be offered education, witnessing, and the chance to choose. The board game provides the arena for that. So you have the tribunals or the eviction of these intruder grids, the timeline shifts that happen through strategic moves. It is how fragmented consciousness gets witnessed and offered paths home. It's one of the reasons why a lot of these priests, they would do confessionals, but I don't think like they do it the right way, because the person still has the same patterns and that timeline doesn't get collapsed. So embodiment is so important in all of this. And then lastly, the end game is graduation, so that you can become a Christos. This is your gold medal, okay? You don't have to come back into this earth plane. The current ascension cycle is the final dispensation of the covenant. So the board isn't meant to last forever. It's being dismantled piece by piece. This is what our Gridwork does. And once enough pieces are rehabilitated, the grids get restored, the collective frequency rises, and then the game dissolves into unity, higher harmonics. This is when we can create a better game. Singularity. The need is just temporary. It is the bridge from the fallen distortion back to source. Because again, what did I tell you before? The cosmos is like a breathing lung. You expand, you contract. So we're in that contraction now where we're all going back to source. In short, we need the board game because free will plus contrast equals evolution. Without it, reclamation would be forced and you're violating the natural laws. Souls wouldn't truly grow, and the sad fate of the fallen would be permanent. Our work, and when you heal yourself, you heal your nervous system. This flips the board from NAA control to Guardian reclamation. This rigged chess match into a path of collective liberation. The planet's body as a chessboard isn't tragic, it's just the setup for the greatest comeback story in cosmic history. So we have that to look forward to. There is a comeback. Okay. And now let's circle back to genetics. These couplings, man and woman, are predestined. These Aeonic pairs, Heiros, Gamos, are the foundational divine feminine principles that make up the Godhead. They merge as two principles into a third, okay? Unity and then Trinity. Embodying perfect balance. So in higher creation, everything originates from these paired aeons. The cosmic father and mother unions. Mary's Aeonic partner, Holy Mother Mary, her partner is actually Michael. Arthur and Guinevere. Mary Sophia and Yeshua. However, distortions such as during these Luciferian rebellions, NAA invasions fractured these pairs and led to the separation and the reversal codes, the death cults. This blocked the creation flows. A Heiros Gamos, or sacred marriage, is the process of reuniting genetic equals, or their embodied representatives. This is achieved through Christic union. And a lot of us, men and women, are abstaining because we are getting prepared to be in these unions, because there's a lot of the next generation, next souls that are waiting to come into this earthly plane. So we are cleansing the planet. This is not just your casual romance. Like, you both are a cosmic event. So the inner level first, right? When you go into your herosgamic process within yourself, Carl Jung talks a lot about this too. You are merging your own masculine rod. So when you look at images of like King Tut, like these Egyptians, right? They have a rod and a staff, and it has everything to do with the planet. So a rod, your internal spine, this has an electrical spin 1212. And the feminine staff is the 1313 magnetic spin, positive and negative, and they align together. They like click for personal ascension. This is a bit advanced spiritual mechanics, but I have to tell you this. It's like a perfect clicking of positive and negative. Think of yourself like batteries, right? When you plug in the battery, there is positive and negative. And when you actually put the right alignment, it will activate the planet. So there are several contracted people that are going to be in this sacred marriage. So the outer level is the physical union with your genetic equal. I think the whole twin flame bit is just codependency. Like, I don't think it's you guys are there to clear out distortions of love. And that's why it's very intense. A lot of times it's like love bite. It's like an alien type of mechanic. So it's a lot of codependency and like trauma bonding. But the real union is the herosgamics, the Aeonic pair, the genetic equal. There are different types of pairings. Again, this is all for the activation of the planet. So you have your divine counterpart, your genetic twin, or your monad. You have your soul twin match. So when the rod and staff couples embody this, they lock down the architecture, okay? You anchor the rod and staff pillars. These are your Solomon shields or the emerald ruby codes. So whenever there is a massive invasion of antichrist frequencies, whenever there is a massive attack on the planet, these shields, planetary shields, Solomon shields, this can protect the planet. This not only protects you and your loved ones, but this protects the planet from total catastrophe. It almost forms like a force field. This is done by merging unity codes from their God spark. If you don't understand all of this, that's okay. I'm going to drop you a packet so that your higher self can help you integrate these things. But just listen to the frequencies and this will help you, hopefully. So genetics act as a lock and key. There are seals in our spine, and your correct partner can unlock these seals. So your diamond sun DNA originally is a 12 to 48 strand template, and these holds the locks. These are the dormant creation codes that is tied to specific lineages, such as the ruby sun, emerald sun, golden ray seraphim, and all of that stuff, okay? The key is the matching frequency or the genetic signature from your partner. So your union with the right man or woman, the right Aeonic genetic pair, these codings, when they come in together, the rod and staff alignment, it creates a crystal gene gender merge. This exponentially activates your double diamond sunlight body. Then you can access the higher creation mechanics, such as the cosmic clock resets, the eye of God, the Ra, the eucharistic body. You know, our life here on earth is just temporary, but when you really activate these things, you could be eternal, you could be immortal. Without the correct pair, codes stay locked, perpetuating separation, reversal grids, more of this debt-based currency and preventing the full planetary resurrection. So who you marry is not only for you, it's not just romance, but it is a planetary and cosmic duty. In this cycle, a lot of the embodied star seeds indigos that are carrying these specific templates, they reincarnated with these mission contracts for these unions. And it's not ego-driven romance. It is a very strategic cosmic alignment. So a lot of these couplings, we override these NAA, the anti-Heiros Gamos technology of the divine love, okay? Targeting spiritual couples to prevent unions. But your union is what repairs the bloodlines. It's what reclaims these Nephilim distortions and support this collective liberation and evolution. Again, for example, King Arthur Guinevere is an archetypal Herosgamic pair that was restoring these emerald codes in Ireland grids, or rod staff prototypes anchoring new electron spins. Mary Sophia and Yeshua, they were both really crazy architects. Yeshua is nothing like what the Bible describes. Like, he was such an incredible architect. Like, he was like a wizard, okay? He was full-on wizard, like Merlin level. The duty is planetary because these unions help dismantle the checkerboard mutations, the distortions in our DNA, and to really restore the vertical staff and to birth this new creation, such as the higher dimensional Christos children templates, cosmic sun anchoring. These are the original evolved form of humans, not the AI merging nanotech BS that they're doing now. They had this article about artificial birthing process where the baby looks like it's in this silicone contraption. It's like a plastic thing where the baby is incubated. Like, what the hell? That is so unnatural, but it's put in your faces to think that that's okay. Like, that's not okay. So your marriage union isn't a side quest. It is a very high level move that places a powerful piece. This is to unify the Christic template on the board, unlocking these block squares, grid timelines, freeing trapped fragments, and to really shift the endgame towards reclamation. Choosing the wrong pair keeps the codes locked and the game rigged. So the right one will flip these reversals into organic flows, and you will just feel this like overflowing kind of love. It's like your heart feels like a dam breaking, but it's like fucking amazing because it's literally like a waterfall. If you could picture a waterfall, that is like the immense current of love that flows through you and your partner. And yeah, it is all interconnected. Healing the grid supports the pairs, and the pairs heal the grid. So my pair currently is going to one of these nodes in the planet, and he's anchoring the masculine rod to architect these new templates, to plant the seeds that we've been working on. And now let's touch on the earthly contracted marriages versus the cosmic Herosgamic unions. So what is the difference between a contracted marriage here in 3D versus a Herosgamic union? The contracted earthly marriages operate primarily on the 3D lower astral planes. These are frequently rooted in karmic agreements from the past timelines or lifetimes. Let's say if you have unresolved debt, soul lessons, or bindings from the Nephilim Wars, Anunnaki blood covenants, or Yahweh matrix overlays, societal programming, lunar-based distortion, sexual misery programs, gender reversals, alien love bites, all kinds of stuff, okay? There's so many hijacking that's done to the human body and our relationships. energetic hooks that create codependency loops. So one partner might feed off the other partner's life force, loosh harvesting, and you feel so depleted. Emotional dependency, power imbalance, or reversal codes that keep both stuck in separation consciousness. These marriages can feel like they are fated or intense, but they often enforce these dark contracts, these invisible energetic agreements, sometimes from intruder agendas. They lock souls into cycles of suffering. You're like in the labyrinth of your own mind and you can't escape limitation, anti-life patterns. They do not unlock higher creation codes. Instead, they perpetuate the checkerboard mutation. It fragments the DNA. It blocks your ascension to the Godhead. So the result is that you stay bound to the earthly plane's illusion of union, recycling karma without true transcendence. This is what the NAA favors because it keeps the genetic keys locked, preventing the full rod and staff merger and blocking planetary cosmic duty fulfillment. If you look into the history of marriages, right, even romanticism, consumerism and romanticism is the perfect combination. So that's why consumerism tells us to consume as much products as much as possible in order to be happy. If something is not right or something is missing, then we probably need to buy a new car or a new watch or whatever it is. It is just the perfect combination. It keeps feeding their beast machine. The alignment of the true Heroscomic union or sacred marriage, it requires genetic equals, your divine counterpart, gender twin flame in the truest sense of your monadic soul twin match. So both frequencies perfectly align to form the rod and staff. Again, this is your 12-12 electrical and 13-13 magnetic spin. This union is what activates the lock and key mechanism. Merging of the pairings unlocks the dormant diamond sun templates. This is your Christic gene codes, and it reverses the cosmic clock. So a lot of the higher creation starts to flow. True union is ultimate sovereign expansion. So each partner retains full autonomy while amplifying the whole. There is no loose drain, no power games, just exponential light body activation that serves the planetary reclamation. And so how does these pairings tie into our Fiat system now? We are turning on the planet again. That's why we're seeing a lot of the storms, calamities, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes. All of that is to renew the planet. Doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just Gaia is going through a transformation. There is a new consciousness body within the planet, a new operating system. It is full on resonance, harmonic, okay? We're not going to care so much about money or how much you have in your bank account. That is the old system. What is going to be highlighted is the purity of your heart, the purity of your soul. The whole global fiat system, this debt-based currency, central banking, money created from nothing, endless printing, interest slavery is not neutral human invention. It is the physical Babylonian black magic architecture that was hijacked during the Luciferian rebellion and Anunnaki invasions. So what is true wealth? The golden eagle grid, Seraphim original divine uncorrupted wealth. Originally, this grid held the pure horizontal abundance flow. So these golden seraphims, they were the original guardianship of the planetary prosperity, loyalty, harmonic wealth that came straight from source. It wasn't just the 1% power law moves. After the hijack via Iran-Iraq 10th Stargate, these Thothian Anunnaki overlay base 10 reversal codes, it was weaponized into a mind control broadcast station that pumps out these false king tyranny, patriarchal domination. This is where a lot of your soldiers of capitalism comes from, that your finance bros. Just kidding. But yeah, most men are still on this false king tyranny that does not serve life. It is service to self. And I just want more money, more. Yeah. Sexual misery, consumptive modeling, black magic templates, Egyptian, Babylonian curses on currency. A lot of these luge harvesting through financial fear, debt, and scarcity. Printing money out of nowhere. That's essentially black magic. There's always consequences. You think that it's harmless and you're not doing anything bad, but you are exchanging something always, your life force. A lot of the contracted marriages that is promoted, it is the same dark contracts, just like the earthly contracted marriages. It binds you to loops of codependency instead of Godhead liberation. So the Fiat system is this planetary scale version of that same dark contract, and Fiat is their Horcrux. I recommend watching Harry Potter again. A Horcrux is like this object that binds this fragment of the soul. Your essence, life force, is split off and hidden in these external objects or containers. That's why our dollar bills are the way they are. It is like a contract that every time you exchange, you are bartering your life force energy, fragments of your soul. So this anchors the creator's immortality power. The body can be destroyed, but as long as the Horcrux exists, true death liberation doesn't occur. It creates an act of extreme violation of murder, soul splitting via reversal codes, blood sacrifice, and anti-life rituals. So when we destroy all of these Horcruxes, this is required for final defeat, end of the cycle. If we all stop believing in Fiat, it's actually counter-subjective because we would have to change the mindset of billions of people, which is not easy. So to create such change of that magnitude, it would be an ideological movement. This can only be done if strangers cooperate with one another and these strangers leave some type of shared myths. If we were to leave this imagined order, we must create a new belief system, a new alternative imagined order. Money is fundamentally a universal medium of exchange that societies agree upon to facilitate trade and cooperation. So the value of money is not inherent in the physical substance. This could be, we've used stocks, sticks before, coins, shells, electronic data, but this is really a psychological and collective agreement among people. Even if the paper money goes away, a new substrate will just replace it. And because money's value is based on the shared belief and trust, it can take many forms or substrates, from shells to banknotes to digital currencies. That's why we are working on an energetic level, collapsing these timelines so that we don't have to keep being on this bullshit industrial complex. We have to completely change the collective mindset and reset everybody's nervous system. So, societies often perpetuate beliefs and systems such as physicalism or entrenched power structures without these critical examinations, which leads to self-deception and manipulation across generations. Even with the changing collective mindset, this is what helps breaks these cycles and fosters awareness and truth. Our current social and political systems, they often exploit divisions, pitting groups against each other to distract from the deeper systemic issues. However, a unified conscious mindset, this is what reduces conflict and promotes more understanding, enabling humanity to focus on more of a shared goals and beliefs. That's why we have to evolve our consciousness to get back into our hearts, and we understand the underlying patterns of cause and effect relationships that govern these changes, because it is crucial for anticipating future developments and making more informed decisions. The collective mindset has to shift and move beyond these outdated political theories and embracing more comprehensive global perspective. One day, a lot of these boomers are going to die, and us, we are the next elders. That is why having a new collective belief and consciousness is really necessary to navigate these complexities of globalization and geopolitical struggles and the ongoing transformation of the world orders. Because without these changes in our collective awareness, society just keeps on repeating historical cycles of this conflict and instability. If we are not evolving, we are devolving. That's why only a few people are getting smarter and majority of the people are getting dumber and dumber. Children are getting dumber by the day. They're creating new language that is just, I don't even know. So, when they're able to capture souls, they have your soul fragments. This is when it starts to split and anchor into a collective life force loosh of humanity. So, men are not reproducing, women are not reproducing. It's just a complete degradation of our biology, consciousness fragmentation, society collapse, so on and so forth. It is all getting siphoned. So this fiat, this goddamn Horcrux object, is the inverted golden eagle grid's physical economic expression. Money printed from nothing. Ex nihilo, like a dark spell. Backed by endless debt, slavery, contracts, interest as ritual extraction, and scarcity programming. More babies get sacrificed. So why is fiat, again, their Horcrux? It anchors their continued immortality. As long as humanity remains hooked into these fiat loops, such as debt bondage, fear of lack, consumptive modeling, codependent survival, the NAA intruders' agendas, they stay anchored. They can't be fully evicted or die, while the container holds the harvested fragments. That's why you see all of these celebrities, they're just getting thinner by the day. They're getting skinnier by the day because they are the first one that gets extracted. They are running on 20% battery. We all have to unplug. My higher self was like, it's time to say these things. They're very complicated, but take the people with you who wants to awaken their philosopher's stone. Others will probably burn from sun's radiation. We're going to be rotisserie. And that's why they're building all of these bunkers. This is why fiat must go away for true planetary liberation. When we destroy the Horcrux, when we dismantle this debt slavery, we restore the organic flow. They get unplugged. Once the container is irreplaceably damaged through a lot of our activations, the Heraldry unions, the real creation codes, the real cosmic father, this God consciousness, their hold collapses. No more loosh harvest, no more codependent patterns. The end game is collective sovereignty and a return to source-aligned abundance. A lot of the fallen fragments get rehabilitated. It doesn't serve their dark overlords, and the planet graduates from this rigged chessboard. It is the final boss mechanism. The fiat as their Horcrux is their last major anchor on Earth. When it falls, which it will and it must in this cycle, then that's when the game flips irreversibly towards reclamation. Freedom for everyone. Hurrah! The genetic Aeonic pairs or the Heraldry unions are the real keys. And when the right genetic equals come together in their true cosmic marriage, they both unlock the original golden ray wealth templates. This is what restores all of the abundance codes, the organic flow instead of the printed debt. That's why who you marry is planetary cosmic duty, and each true Heraldry pair literally begins collapsing the reversal architecture that props up the Fiat. Every time I see these men who are warriors of capitalism, they offer their prostate to these false gods. Their life force is depleted more and more, causing you more stress, aging rapidly. You could just see in their faces, their eyes are just dead because you are their louche. You are their food. You start balding. Pick up your scriptures. Pick up your sword, son. You should not be swordless. Return to your origin. You know, when you don't have a father, a righteous man, passionate, intelligent, capable father, you're left so broken. It really sets you up for failure in a bad way. And most are raised by idiots, not embodied feminines who are just enmeshing with their children, who imprints their insecurities on their children. And it's a lot to repair. So many children now are being exposed to sexual perversions at such an early age. And I went to Disney World and I was seeing all of these kids. They were just wearing their booty shorts. You see them all the time in Sephora. Like, damn, why did your parents let you go out looking like that? It is breaking them. They are losing their identities, their innocence, and we need to show them what love is. You know, love is fighting, love is ferocious, love is absolute protector. We all need to see more furious, righteous men and women who have zealousness, passionate pursuits, the mighty warriors who have zero tolerance for evil, men who contend, fight against these tyrants, both physical and spiritual, not just sitting in your desk with your balls tied to it, not just concerned about materialistic things. And now they are slowly dripping people with all of these little disclosures so you can have these categories in your brain in case these bees start showing up at your door when they tell you more of the heinous things that they've done, which they will. They have to. They have no other choice. So why is fiat going away? This Babylonian financial system will fall and must fall as a part of the current dispensation. It cannot hold the resonance of the planet anymore. What is emerging within her new consciousness body. They're showing us with the whole Epstein list, like the child sacrifice that they do, the SRA. This all symbolizes the ultimate corruption and rebellion against the divine law, the law of reciprocity. 1:1, right? They bargain with these dark entities, and so child sacrifice is one of the most potent form of blood offering. The innocence and purity of a child's life amplifies the spiritual potency of their blood covenant. Blood is a conduit for spiritual energy. So the shedding of this innocent blood in sacrifices opens gateways for more demonic, otherworldly entities to influence and control the physical realm, which then just keeps reinforcing the covenant's binding power. So within our Gridwork, we've been all over these bodies of water. When you clean the blood, it cleans the oceans. Both the Suez and the Strait of Hormuz are critical maritime choke points that control major global trade routes. The Suez Canal connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, and this serves as a vital shortcut for shipping between Europe and Asia, while the Strait of Hormuz is this narrow passage connecting to the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean, through which is all significant portion of the world's oil supply is transported. So you think of these channels, this water routes, as Gaia's veins and arteries. So when you block these veins and arteries, there is no organic flow of the blood. Control over these waterways grant these significant geopolitical power. So the Suez Canal has historically been a focal point for colonial and military control, influencing a lot of the trade, the naval dominance all over the Mediterranean and beyond. And just like the Strait of Hormuz, it is a very strategic flashpoint in the Middle Eastern geopolitics, with its regional powers and global navies vying for influence due to its role in our energy security. These are not limited to the Rothschild family alone. There are many other powerful families that are the shot callers behind the scenes. So there are various secret societies and financial backers who collaborate or compete in influencing these world events. Some who identify as Jews do so based on ancestry tests or belief systems rather than strict bloodlines. So these multiple groups and denominations are involved in a much broader geopolitical and financial dynamics. So let's say the Rothschilds are just one part of this complex network of elite families and power brokers who control various aspects of these global finance, politics, secret agendas. So these families would operate through secret societies, dynastic bloodlines, and covert organizations that maintain these influence over governments, economies, and strategic resource worldwide. They create sovereign territories and legal loopholes. There are laws that apply to people, there are laws that apply to others, and there's a group of people that no laws applies to them. And so it's good to maintain a healthy skepticism towards these political leaders. A lot of them are just paid actors. A lot of the presidents, people in office, and other officials are often just selected rather than us truly elected. They are all filtered through these powerful networks. The broader agenda includes a lot of the manipulation of history, culture, religion to maintain their control, with many families that trace their lineage back to ancient figures like Nimrod and really claiming their divine or serpent seed rights to rule. One of my favorite books is Dune, and Frank Herbert was working in DC, where he observed the complex and often very contentious politics surrounding water rights and resource control. And based on his real world experience, Herbert then wrote Dune to explore a future scenario on Earth where water scarcity becomes a central and critical issue. Dune tells us about the harsh desert planet, which is called the Arrakis, where water is extremely scarce and fiercely guarded. It is reflecting the political struggles and ecological challenges that Herbert witnessed. So through Dune, Herbert extrapolates these consequences of resource depletion and the power struggles that it can ignite. So he was writing a cautionary vision of Earth's potential future if the water and all of these other vital resources are mismanaged or monopolized. So it's very thematic focus on the water politics that we are experiencing now, and it serves really an allegory for the real environmental and geopolitical issues that really emphasizing the importance of sustainable resource management and the dangers of these concentrated power over essential commodities. I highly recommend reading it. It is so good. It's one of my all-time favorite books. And yeah, I think that is a good ending. I think on the next episode I want to talk about the dragon trials, more into how I got into this. That is it for today. Thank you so much for being patient. I know this was super long, but thank you for listening. I added some new merch on my website, so go check it out. I have my one-on-one sessions if you're ready to explore more of yourself, your family constellation, your gifting, more meditations on my shop also, make sure to grab my 0 Point meditation there. I'm going to link it down below. My Fire Series Masterclass, if you don't want to do one-on-one sessions. There are codes there that can clear so much of your karma, your 100-year lifetimes, 1,000-year lifetimes. It is time to awaken your Codex and your vaults. Follow my newsletter on Substack and make sure to hit subscribe on my YouTube, Spotify. I'm literally everywhere, just spreading the word. I also added this coupon code for recall, which I've been loving to use a lot of my research and studying. It is one of my favorite tools when it comes to learning. And it's like your own knowledge base. So all of your journal entries, books, articles, all in one place. It makes finding your researching so much easier because I have so many notes everywhere and I tend to lose them. But it is encrypted and it's just your data bank. It is like having your own brain that can sort everything through you, and it has a really great graph view. So it can tell you where your gaps of knowledge are, and then you could do quizzes also. I love it so much for studying alongside my obsidian. Okay, everyone, I hope you live prodigiously intellectual lives so that the snake eaters can't rule over you. The beasts are gonna start knocking on our doors. You know, these beasts, no, they are beasts. People need to stop being in their la-la land. Time to wake up because it's about to get so real. The truth will set you free, but first, it will piss you off. As always, there are a lot of frequencies and codes on here. Take what resonates. I love you so, so much. I'll see you on our next episode.